waiting on me.
Remix. Remix. Remix.
SNCC. The reason I articulated the sentiments of black people was because SNCC had a public forum, not because I articulated the sentiments better than brothers on the streets or brothers who didn't have that public forum. I don't think that you could articulate the sentiments of black people last year any better than they did in Detroit. So I think the movement is a leaderless movement, whereas we might influence people, we do not control people.
Well, how does this solidarity come about if there is no specific leader?
I think eventually there will. I think as the struggle progresses, you see, revolution does not occur in one stage. It's an evolutionary process. You know, like people go through different things. The masses of people become involved, then leaders are chosen. Right now, you have a vanguard struggle that's occurring, where by groups are fighting about discussing political ideologies, which are relevant, which should be incorporated into the struggle or will be incorporated into the struggle. That's not to be misinterpreted with, like de-revolution, because it's just a phase of evolution.
What about politics? Where do black people fit into the political spectrum right now? Or should they at all?
Well, politics as defined by the geographical and influential spheres of this country is irrelevant to black people and is irrelevant to the masses of people. The vote has been used as a tool of oppression against black people. I mean, Camus raises a very good point when he says, what better way to enslave a man than give him the vote and call him free? See, it does not profit black people or poor people anything to have the vote and not be able to select the candidates they want to choose. Now, how can you choose between Lyndon Johnson, Nixon, Agnew, Wallace, and Humphrey? There is no choice. Evil is evil. There's nothing in between that.
There was some lesser candidates. Dick Gregory running for office. Eldridge Cleaver.
I think the vote can only be used as a tool of organization. We can only use the vote to organize our people. Now, to really believe that we can put someone in office and that these people would be responsive to our needs is naive, politically naive. Because even if one of the black candidates who ran for office was to take the office of president, then black people must be prepared to fight against that person.
Why?
Because, you see, the system mandates the action of the individual. The individual does not determine how this country will function. This country works off the military-industrial complex, which means that it's profitable to wage war. And unless you, devise another plan, another scheme to sustain, to boost this economy, then it's going to be necessary to wage war, whether, a black individual is in office or a white individual is in office. So we're talking about a complete a change in system.
If Mr. Cleaver did win the election, don't you think that he could have conducted the presidency in a unique manner that may not be, compromising to the system you speak of?
No, because, as I said, the system dictates the response of individuals. See, individuals do not influence politically, economically, or socially. The attitudes or functioning of the system.
Well, if politics as we know it here in this country is not the answer, what is?
I think there has to be a reevaluation of politics. Now, there are definitions of politics that are relevant to black people. Chairman Mao says that politics is war without bloodshed, and war is an extension of politics. I think black people have to begin to address themselves to the politics of revolution, because we are caught up in revolutionary struggle, whether we want to believe it or whether we want to be or not. So I think, black people have to begin to think in a revolutionary fashion and create and construct a politically revolutionary platform.
Is this going to be a race revolution, or is it going to be a class revolution?
I think, like in terms of struggle and who will comprise the revolutionary front of that struggle, it will be oppressed people. See, black people are in the vanguard position of the struggle because we've been the most dispossessed. However, there are other oppressed people in this country: Mexican American, the Spanish American community, the Puerto Ricans, American Indian, Japanese Americans, and even poor whites. But racism, I don't believe that racism will allow poor whites to form alliances with the revolutionary groups in this country.
Do you feel that black people will ever have a strong political voice in this country in the formal sense as we understand it? You mentioned that you don't think that this could ever come about. Is there any chance that it might?
No, I think that's a reformist, position to assume for me to say that black people will one day occupy in this system political offices of importance. Now, this brings on a whole discussion of control, and how you control. Because anything that you don't control is used as a weapon against you. Now, in terms of black people occupying positions, America has created in Cleveland, Washington, D.C., and Gary, Indiana, a type of neo-colonialism. In other words, the man has set up a puppet regime these black people that are responsive to the needs and the whims of the Democratic Party and not of the masses of black people. If Johnson is president or whoever is president were to tell Stokes or Hatcher or Walter Washington to send black people to concentration camps, then there would be no discussion, because they would see it as their job, because they hold a position that's, responsive or that's sensitive to the Democratic Party.
Welcome to Remix Morning Show. Peace, everyone. EGI, Miss Amber here, and Brother Lord. How y'all feeling?
Peace. Morning, y'all. Doing well.
So, at the top of this hour, at the beginning, we want to bring on a few comrades in Japan to talk about a case that's been going on for some while, obviously unbeknownst to us in the United States. But so Parsival, is that correct? Parsival, yes. And Maurice, you could introduce yourself, and then we can kind of get into the dynamics of the case.
Yeah. What kind of info would you like to hear in the intro?
Yeah, just who you are, what type of orgs you're a part of, and maybe just how y'all doing this morning.
Just a little bit about your work too would be great for our folks. We're all, we know each other here. We try and keep it casual but serious. So I know that sounds like a contradiction, but yeah.
No. Yeah, my name is Percival. I'm originally from the U.S., from the Dallas, Texas area. I've been living in Japan for a little over 9 years. When it comes to the case we're about to discuss, one of the Instagram accounts I follow that's essentially sort of like general Black Lives Matter type of content, but specifically focused in Japan, shared a post asking for people who were available to come to the courthouse to support a Black American man who'd been wrongfully arrested for violent crime. I live nearby. I was available. It's the type of issues that I'm interested in, and so I went and didn't know anything about the case before I went, and was just so enraged by what I saw. And then I reached out to him, Chris, directly in person, made some connections with his friends and other supporters there. And and now I'm helping organize various activities to help support him through this process. That's about it. Thank you so much for having us on today.
Of course, thank you. How about you, Maurice?
Yeah, so peace and greetings, and rest in power to Ancestor Imam Jamil Al-Amin. I'm originally from College Park, Georgia, but I've been living in Japan for about 11 years now. I am one of the plaintiffs in a class action lawsuit against the Japanese government due to racial profiling. So how I'm connected to the case with Mr. Chris Payne is, as some of you all know that are from the Atlanta metro area, a lot of the stuff that has happened to us over the past forever since we've been in the United States, it's creeping over to Japan. As you all know, Japan is the little brother in the American empire. So I chose to come on as a plaintiff against the Japanese government due to some of the practices that they engage in that is pretty common that we see in the States. So I came upon Chris's case quite recently. Like I heard some grumblings about it, but I've been trying to amplify, international attention to this case because this rightward shift that we're seeing all over the world. While I'm here, I want to make sure that, the record is showing that I said something and I tried to fight against it. No matter win, lose, or draw, I'm going to punch back if we're getting punched in the chest. So right now, I work as a fitness trainer. So I always try to make sure that people that are, politically aligned with me understand that this is a fight that is not going to end overnight. This is a marathon and we have to be ready. We stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So yoroshiku, as they say in Japan.
So So if you could, if either one of y'all can kind of lay out the folks that are not familiar, like what exactly is this case with Christopher Stephen Payne? What happened, and where are we at now? We see that this happened in I guess the start of 2018, but could you kind of tell us more about the case to give people some details?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a timeline ready for today. So for any viewers, just warning, this is a sexual assault case. So we're going to be discussing some of those details. On July 12th, 2018, between 12:10 and 12:20 a.m., in the city of Ichikawa in Chiba Prefecture, which is just southeast of Tokyo. I live in the same prefecture. A young woman, I believe she's around 20 at the time, Japanese woman, was attacked by, it seems like, a stranger in the dark. He was wearing a hoodie and a surgical mask, and she didn't really see him, and he forced her to perform oral sex on him. After he ejaculated in her mouth, he ran away, and she spat out his semen, went home, gargled a few times, and then called the police. In her original statement to the police, again, she didn't really get a good look at him. He said some very odd things. He told her he was Indian and that his name was Masala. She did say to the police that based off of the way he spoke, because she did hear him, that he didn't have any sort of accent that she noticed, and she thought he was probably just Japanese. What the police investigation looks like at this point, I have never heard any details. I don't know if they ever had any other leads, but we fast forward to February 2020. Chris Payne, he was born in December 1991, so he's about to turn 34. He was born in Chicago, moved to in the, I think, the general Indianapolis area when he was about 8. His mother is African American. His father is from Greece, and he moved to Japan, I think, maybe around the same time as Maurice, or maybe closer to
Close.
13.
He's 11-year vet, but I moved to Japan 15 years ago. So and I left and I came back, but he's 11 years in.
Okay, all right. There. Okay, thank you. But yeah, so he's been living in Japan for quite a while, and mostly the Tokyo, well, actually a few different places, but he was on a day trip to the Mount Fuji area in February 2020. He missed the last train to go back to the Tokyo area, because with the bullet train, you can do day trips like that. He went to go buy a coffee at a convenience store to wait out the night until the train started running. A guy started talking to him. Chris is a very, very friendly, sociable person. They started chatting. The guy offered to buy him a drink. They started having a few drinks. Chris had more drinks than he can handle. And the next thing he knows, he's waking up in the entryway of a stranger's home. They had been aiming to go to a karaoke bar until the morning train started running, and as Chris says, the karaoke bar was on the left. He was very drunk and he went to the right, and it was an unlocked home, and then he passed out in their entryway. So he was arrested for breaking and entering, but the family did not press any charges. They understood that it was a one-time drunken mistake. He caused no damage. He didn't take anything. So he was released within 24 hours, but before they did, the police asked him if he would be willing to submit to a voluntary DNA sample. And Chris, having nothing to hide, said yes. So that is how his DNA entered the system. And it took many, many months for them to actually test it, because, again, he was not flagged as being a potential suspect in anything. So it was on the backlog for a while. Eventually, it was analyzed, and his results were raised in the system as a potential match for the DNA profile of the attacker in the sexual assault case. So later that year, December 2020, the victim is called back in. The victim of the sexual assault is called back in to look at a photo lineup. Again, her original statement said that she thought the man who attacked her was Japanese, most likely, even though he said something about being Indian. She was shown a photo lineup of only dark-skinned, non-Japanese men. And at this point, it seems like the police introduced her for the first time to the possibility that her attacker was not Japanese. We really don't know sort of the timeline of how or why her statement has changed. But Chris was not arrested until another year later. So he was arrested on November 25th, so for 2021. So we just hit 4 years. He has been held in solitary confinement for that entire period of time. In Japan, once you're arrested, they have 23 days to decide whether or not to indict you. And they did not indict him until the very end, partially because there was not enough evidence to charge him. They did have the DNA. It was not a match, and we'll get into the details of that later. But it was well, actually, I can explain that now. So part of that is because the DNA sample the police took from the victim's mouth was a combination of her cells and the victim's semen. It was a very small sample. Again, she spat out the semen. She gargled several times before she went home, or after she went home, before she called the police. It was a mixed sample and a very small one. So the initial police analysis was not able to identify the DNA profile from the sperm cells, or not the full profile, only a partial profile. And Chris's profile matches what is known of the attacker's profile, which is how he popped up in their system. So they have but then they have to calculate the probability that the rest of it is a match, and it's not the strongest evidence, essentially. So, and at the time that the crime was committed in 2018, Chris did live in that neighborhood, near, I think, less than a kilometer from where the attack happened. So they have that, but her statement of her description of the attacker didn't really match Chris. So at that point, there wasn't enough to indict. They brought her in again and re-interviewed her. And this is in December 2021, she changed her statement to add that her attacker smelled like that strong cologne that foreigners wear. And at this point, back in May, we hosted an event to help spread the word about Chris's case here in Tokyo. And one of the people who came to our event was a Japanese person who's quite active in this kind of work. And they shared with us, I think, an important bit of information, which is where for people who grow up in countries like the US, where we have TV shows like CSI, Law and Order, all of those shows absolutely spread a large amount of misinformation. But I would say probably the average American at least feels like they know something about how these kinds of investigations work, what the role DNA plays. That doesn't exist here. So when it comes to being pressured by the police to change your statement or understanding what DNA means or how it works, there's not even the very, very, very low threshold that exists for people in the US. So she changed her statement changed. However that happened, we don't know. And about to say is cologne. There was a strong cologne smell there before. He must have been a foreigner. The police searched Chris's apartment. He literally did not own cologne. He was known to not wear cologne. He was known to just be a very, very hygienic person in general because he was raised that way. And then they go back to her again, and her statement changes one more time to say, actually, he just had that smell that foreigners have. And that was enough for them to indict. So again, this was the end of 2021. The original trial was scheduled for January 2023. So a little over a year that Chris was waiting in solitary confinement. At this point, he had public defenders who refused to fight for a not guilty verdict. They were pressuring him to accept a guilty plea. Actually, plea bargains don't technically exist in Japan, but the way it works is that if he admits guilt and he apologizes, then the court would be more lenient on him, and they could potentially, for sexual assault cases, they could potentially settle that out of court with a financial settlement. So they were pressuring Chris to go that route. His Japanese ex-girlfriend's father is one of his most fierce advocates, and he was trying to find Chris better representation throughout this whole time period, because he absolutely did not believe that Chris could have ever done something like this, and thought that he deserved to have his day in court, but he couldn't find a single law firm that would take him. One of the people that he reached out to was Innocence Project Japan, and eventually they responded, and they met with Chris less than a month before his original trial was scheduled. There was especially concerns about the DNA. The initial police DNA test just had a number of issues with it, especially the way that it calculated probability. I'm more familiar with the second test because that's sort of what the entire case is about right now, so I can't say in a lot of detail, but from what Chris has told me, at least one issue was that they calculated the likelihood of a match based off of genetic data from Japanese statistics, so the ethnic data of Japanese people, rather than African American or Greek or anything. So, and it's based on that number that he was indicted. So his lawyers, I think even the public defenders, this is one thing that they did do, asked for a retest. And in Japan, well, first of all, that's not automatically granted. Lawyers have to file a motion for it. The prosecution gets to respond, and a judge has to rule on it. But the judge in the original case in Chiba Prefecture did agree that the first police analysis did not, is it hold up to scratch? I've lived in Japan so long, sometimes I forget English. But so they did sign off on a second test. In Japan, these second tests are performed by university professors. In Chris's case, it was performed by a certain individual who, just because of Japanese libel laws, will remain unnamed. But we can call him Professor Y, or sometimes I call him the dentist because he is a professor at a dental college. Yes. Yep. This second test came back with astronomical numbers, truly. He kept recalculating this PR probability ratio, however, and there's multiple ones, but I've seen anywhere from 1 in 264 billion, 1 in 17 trillion, and 1 in 446 quadrillion, saying that essentially there could be no other person, not just on Earth, but in the entire universe, no other life form that could be the attacker apart from Chris, is essentially what his second test came back with. And this is when the public defenders absolutely stopped fighting. So, but again, there's some questionable aspects about that second test. So based on that, the IPJ responded. They met with Chris at the detention center, and he immediately asked them to represent him. They agreed. And so based off of the change in representation, his trial was further postponed, and it finally happened last summer in June 2024 in Chiba. This is the trial that I went to 2 days of, as well as the reading of the verdict. It's like 2.5 days. And at that trial, he was convicted. They found him guilty, and in the judgment summary, it is based almost solely on that second DNA test. At no point has the victim ever positively ID'd Chris. To their credit, I guess, the judges did disregard the foreigner smell thing. But yes, they found him guilty, and he was sentenced to 8 years with labor. So Chris and his team from the IPJ immediately filed for appeal, and after months of back and forth, I believe it was in February 2025, so earlier this year, His team obtained the raw data of the second DNA test. So according to his lawyers, this is the first time in Japan that a defense team has obtained raw data. And based off of their consultant, Dr. Simon Ford, who's based in the U.S., they found evidence suggesting that the results have been falsified. Namely that aspects of the original results had been edited, or in one particular case, DNA information that did not belong to the victim and therefore, must have belonged to the attacker was deleted, and Chris's information was manually written in instead. And the software that he used, Gene Mapper, which is typically used for stuff like this, and not just for forensics, but criminal forensics, but other uses, records everything that you change. And so when they obtained the raw data, they were able to immediately, clearly, objectively see that. And the dentist had not disclosed that he made these changes to anyone. So there was also some issues with establishing his alibi during the first trial. This summer, they were finally able to confirm his IP address. It was somewhat inconclusive. Basically, and it's also been 7 years, so Chris himself is also pretty fuzzy on some of the details. What seems to be likely is that, also, he was not in Chiba Prefecture. He was not at home in that neighborhood that night. He was working overnight at an establishment called Tokyo Fight Club, where he was a fighter. Chris is an MMA, jiu-jitsu fighter. And also schmoozing with guests. He was a very popular persona at this place. TFC, by the time the first trial happened, TFC had closed down, I believe, which made it harder to obtain records, although his former manager did testify on the stand, and I caught part of that on the first day that I was in court. But so there was some difficulty establishing his alibi. The amount of time that had passed was a big component in that. And the police did not do any investigation into IP address information whatsoever at all. It's based on the IP address that was eventually confirmed this summer. It seems like he was using free Wi-Fi offered through SoftBank, a very large company in Japan, but also invests/owns many companies throughout the world. One of them being, I believe it was Verizon. And therefore, apparently, sometimes when you're connected to SoftBank free Wi-Fi in Japan, your connection is actually routed through other companies. I'm not a tech person. I don't know if it would be their servers or their satellites. But because of that, his IP address showed up as he was somewhere in Texas, actually. And obviously, he wasn't there. But so it didn't super help them, but also didn't hurt them. And this has all been going on this summer. Based off of the DNA forgery, they tried to get him out on bail. That was all denied. And then this year, October 6th, so last month, his appeal trial at the Tokyo High Court finally began. The prosecutors appear to be using the strategy of ignoring the Professor Wise second test and going back to the police test. However, the second test only exists because the judge in the first trial agreed that the police test was insufficient. So it's very strange for them to now bring in a new expert who used his own proprietary software to rerun the numbers, and actually it turns out it's the best test that's ever been conducted, is sort of their approach that they were going to try to use. However, the Tokyo High Court judges determined to not hear any new testimony from any new expert witnesses. This is very unusual. But the evidence that they are taking into account is Professor Wise' additional statements, where he freely admits that he changes it, but it was for a good reason, I swear. He does not, from what Chris has described, he doesn't seem to think that anything that he did is bad or unethical. And so since they are admitting various pieces of evidence that confirm the forgery, at this point, we're actually pretty optimistic. The final ruling is next month on December 11th, and they might acquit him. They might send it back down to the Chiba court. Whether or not the prosecutor will appeal is still uncertain. Japanese prosecutors rarely give up, but also the DNA forgery aspects of this case have tainted it quite a bit. So, but on the other hand, they also weren't allowed to introduce any of their new evidence and experts. So they have a pretty solid argument for appeal. So we will just have to see what happens. But at the very least, we're very optimistic that on December 11th, Chris will be released. Because even if the prosecution appeals, if he's been acquitted, then he would not be held in the detention center anymore.
Okay.
That's the crux of it.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I saw him today. Actually, I visited him at the detention center, and I told him, that I was going to be appearing with Percival today. And it's not a matter of if, but when he gets released. This is an incredible story, a miscarriage of justice, and we're going to celebrate him getting out. But we want him to fly back to the United States as soon as possible, because there's some obviously from the story that you all just heard, there's a lot of shenanigans going on. It's just when I heard about it, I'm looking at the comments now, it's ridiculous. It's just outright ridiculous. So we are very optimistic. I'm waiting because his birthday is a couple of weeks after mine. I told him we're gonna celebrate because he's gonna be out by the time his birthday comes on the 17th.
And when is his birthday?
What's your zodiac sign?
I asked the
We
real, when's his
Sagittarius.
birthday?
We Sagittarius.
Not y'all Sagittarius.
That's
Yeah.
all my little brothers are Sagittarius. You good? When's the Chris's birthday?
Chris' birthday is the 17th, right?
Yes, December 17th.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
17th. So the appeal's on the 11th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I know a few Sagittarius, and I just heard y'all be getting a bad rap.
Yeah, we get railroaded. Everybody thinks that we're doing something wrong. We're always right, though.
No, I ain't say all that. You're going a little far.
Well, we definitely want to celebrate when he's released, and I also just want to thank you for outlining those details for us. And we'll definitely take questions if folks want to follow up for the limited time we have.
Absolutely.
Here.
There is a question in the chat where someone said, did she lie? I think that Percival was explaining that the story changed. Could you
she got
go
pressured.
that one more time?
Yes. So 3 versions of the witness statement that I'm aware of. First, he said he was Indian. He just sounded Japanese to me. Second, he stank like that strong cologne that foreigners wear. I think Chris was discovered to not own cologne. So the third version of the statement is he just had that foreigner smell on him. And again, with what I touched on earlier is that there is much less awareness amongst the average Japanese person in terms of how investigations work, what the police do or might do to you, even if you are the victim. So we have absolutely no idea what her thoughts are on any of this. She has never actually in the courtroom, and this is standard practice in Japan for cases like this, there was a barrier set up between where Chris was sitting and between her when she took the stand to explain what happened to her that night. So she didn't even see him in the courtroom. And again, she didn't see her attacker, but she heard him. But at no point did the police, after arresting him, did they ever take a recording of his voice and play it for her. So her statement has changed. It seems very, very likely, but of course, none of this is confirmed that the police pressured her into doing that. When I was in the court last summer, I believe that one thing that Chris's defense lawyer brought up was that she was called in for what was supposed to be like a 15-minute meeting that ended up lasting at least 2 hours. So, and my personal thoughts on police in any country, it seemed very likely that she was pressured into changing her statement. But her changing statement has not at all been sort of relevant to the appeal, because he was really convicted purely based off of the DNA analysis. Again, nothing that she contributed really spoke to Chris directly. The most recent version of her statement was the foreigner smell thing, which the judges in the Chiba trial explicitly said that's not a thing. So he was really convicted almost purely based off of the second DNA test, the dentist test, and yeah, and even if she had stood up in the courtroom and seen his face and pointed at him and said, "That's him, that's the guy," because the DNA was forged and shows signs, very clear indicators of someone else's DNA, a third party's DNA, it frankly wouldn't have mattered. So we don't like to, we prefer not to focus on her because in terms of why Chris was convicted and why he is where he is now, she has very little to do with it.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you
that's
for
what I
that,
mean.
because I was going to ask Maurice this question to contextualize what Percival said. So you said we all know that Japan's the little brother of empire, but for people who don't in our audience, right? Could you kind of outline that context? Why is this happening in Japanese society? A lot of us, just like others get seen, you know, American Hollywood, Western propaganda, Japan is often portrayed as this place people want to go to. I know in the case it mentioned Shibuya, anime, all of these things draw us to Japan. And so they have this image they project. So why is this happening? This racial profiling, this foreigner smell? What don't we know about Japanese society?
Well, I think it's a manifold thing. So it's this multipolar, like because of the fact that the Empire of Japan was taken down ultimately by the Allied powers led by the United States. There's kind of an inferiority complex that goes on. So for me, because you know I'm a foreigner and I'm an American, I get certain looks that say, okay, well, if you're not military, then you must be put in another otherized box. So and I just had an encounter today. You know, I'm looking for real estate right now, and I tell people all the time, as you know, if I, you know, as a Southerner, I prefer that you will drop the N-bomb on me in the beginning rather than do all the other dangerous stuff to me, you know, behind my back, you know, like a liberal, you know, whatever, and you know, end up harming me even more so than someone who just doesn't want to mess with me because I'm a black person. And you see that strain of bigotry or xenophobia or racism, whatever you want to call it, here in Japan, once people figure out that you're actually living here. So the tourism is one thing because it is a source of money, but a lot of the vitriol and the hate is directed towards Asian foreigners, even more so than like people that look like me. Now, with my case, I got stopped largely during the bulk of the pandemic because I ride a motorcycle. So like, it was one of those things like, well, what your ass doing here? Like, why is your black ass on a bike when all the foreigners are gone? You know, so it's one of those things because of the fact that we have the military installations here. I'm putting to a box because I look a certain way, but I have the hair, so I grew out my hair partly because I didn't want to be put in the box of like, yeah, you're just a military guy that's here as an occupying, you know, state actor. But you have many people behind the scenes that understand that Japan acts mainly in lockstep with United States foreign policy. So all of the bases, you know, throughout the country, you know, I live near a base. I actually had a gym near one of the bases. They recognize, okay, this is the main power. You know, we are moving more towards a multipolarity like situation now with China, but Japan has a millennial long like rivalry with China. So it's one of those things where you have people that when we talk about racial profiling, a lot of the other Asian racism gets kind of erased because the binary that we talk about is like white and black a lot of times here. And Japan consumes all of that soft power, all of the stuff that we export all over the world. You see, with the young lady that just passed, a cosplayer, you know, she was getting attacked online. A lot of those people are Asian. A lot of those people are non-white folks, and they scoop up all of the white supremacists and they shove it down their throats just like anybody else. So Japan is no different from anybody else. A lot of people like to make it exceptional because of the soft power that it exports. You know, a lot of people love Japanese culture. I'm one of those people. You know, I grew up with Japanese culture in my house. Some of my family members were born in Japan because they were part of the U.S. Military. But once I got here, I understood, a lot of people are colonized in their minds. You know, they recognize America as the number one power with nuclear capabilities, and they act to be as close to that power, you know, because we are within the imperial core, so they don't get burned by it, you know. And it's very counterintuitive. You know, you get close to the sun and you're still getting burned, but like maybe you think you're safe, but like nobody's safe. So one of the things that we're trying to do now with our case and then with Chris's case is get as much international attention to shame the people that scoop up all of this bigotry and all of this white supremacist thinking wholeheartedly, and tell them like, hey, it's hurting you too. This is poison that you're gobbling up, and you think it's saving you, but it's not, because you think when we talk about sharing, you know, civil liberties and all that stuff, is a zero-sum game. If we have all these foreigners here, then we're going to be losing. You know, they have the make Japan great again type stuff going on here. We have a rightward shift. And I have to talk to people like this all the time, you know, because I was a former mixed martial artist myself, a pro, and all the people that I rub shoulders with are like, either they're liberal, they're liberal here, or like they're going all the way to like right wing, like they want the empire to come back. So we have to combat those people with thinking. Yeah, it's really not that much middle ground. So we have to make sure that, you know, with the international community watching and saying, hey, all of this stuff that you see on Instagram and on TikTok, like how Japan is so orderly and it's so clean compared to like US cities and all that, a lot of that is bullshit. That's for you as a tourist to come spend your money, and then you need to get the hell up out of here, because you're not actually welcomed here as a full resident or full like a member of society. And one of the things that I always talked about whenever someone gives me the chance to talk about is, you know, the court cases that we're dealing with now with Chris's struggles is who, and we have the same struggle throughout the diaspora. Who are the people that actually deserve all of these civil liberties and all these rights that we claim to idealize throughout, you know, the Western world or the developed world or the first world, whatever you want to call it? Who are the people that actually deserve that? And if we can be honest about that, if we can, you know, call a spade, then I think we can start to make that progress, because a lot of people sitting on the fence. And I don't want anybody to sit on the fence. You either with me or you're against me when it comes to this type of fight, because you think I'm a citizen or a full participant of civil society, or I'm not. Which one is it? Ain't no middle ground. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate you laying that out. I was smiling because so often that propaganda works. And so people are telling me, oh, you just got to go here. You just got to. So I think we have a question about what drew y'all to Japan. So we can maybe follow up with that. But I just appreciate you giving that history. And again, they were and are an empire, right? So understanding that history that folks like Chidi Macha are outlining in the chat is important. I appreciate you laying out the role of police, because that's always my question as a Black person everywhere. Y'all say it so much better. Let me see. Yeah. How the police treat us. Now
I can say this though. I can say this as a Black person. You know, I'm from College Park. I'm from Old National. I can say this. I've had encounters with Fulton County PD. I've had encounters with Union City. I got guns pulled on me by Union City PD. I've had to deal with APD. You know, I almost lost my life with a couple of encounters. Now I can say this. If we can stop it now, we don't really have to worry about the police actually just offing you and then making it seem like your fault, even though we got you in HD, you know. With this type of case right here with Chris, you know, they're going about it the long roundabout way, but it's still somebody's life being crushed. So I always tell people, you know, yeah, for me as a Black man, I walk around and I know even in America, I am the danger. Most people look at me and they say, okay, I'm over like 200 pounds. I'm over 6 feet. Then I'm a threat. I have to be put in my place some way, somehow, by either state violence or by whatever other indirect things that are crushing us right now. And it's the same thing in Japan. It's just more indirect. It's more subtle, but it's still there. That poison is still there. So anybody that wants to come and visit Japan, I tell them all the time, like, I can go down to a convenience store and grab an ice cream right now, and the only thing I got to worry about are the police and get hit by a car. That's it. I ain't got to worry about nobody stealing my wallet or hitting a lick on me or like doing anything crazy, because usually people think that I'm going to be the one that's trying to hit a lick on them. But it's really, you shouldn't, and when I first came back to America after I moved to Japan, I had to kind of readjust my perspective, because I got, my spidey senses got dulled. But the sense of danger is creeping back again now that we see all the xenophobia creeping back and we have the rightward shift, all this rhetoric. So I tell people, like, yeah, you can come, you should come, because we're everywhere. We got a nice community here, but we still have to stay vigilant. We still have to stay, aware of what's going on, because a lot of people you have, even in these communities, there's several different types of communities here in Japan, like continental, people from the continent, people from America, people from the Caribbean, where they have different views. I'm probably maybe farthest to the left of most of the people that I know. And they're like, yeah, just keep your head down. Immigrant mentality, they won't bother you. They're all kind of, but it's that's how you get your rights taken away. That's how it always starts, because you're sitting there being quiet while someone like Chris is sitting under, and you think that it's okay. It's not okay, because you're next. You're on the menu. You're definitely on the menu with some extra sauce on the side. So let's fight,
Right. Definitely. And I hear you, because, it's also about the population they're focused on. And I think you pointed out that they're mostly focused on other Asians, which is ironic given Japan tried to colonize most of Asia. So just like the US.
Really, right? Yeah, it's like the white person's dream, where it's like, okay, like the typical white person in America that is afraid of like retribution for all of the bad stuff that happened throughout the US empire's like existence. It's like, yeah, they're kind of living it out right now, because China's right there. And it's one of those things like, yeah, they're not going anywhere. So what are you going to do? You're going to blame the foreigner for everything else that's going on with that's bad with your economy and everything else. You target people like me or Chris, and it's like, somebody said in the chat, like, yeah, Japan hates the Chinese and Koreans more than me. Yeah, of course. But that it still doesn't stop me or Chris or anybody. When I went to the jail today, it's an overrepresentation of foreigners there. I see Sri Lankans there. I see Koreans, Vietnamese. I see, and I saw a couple of dark-skinned people, and I'm like, he ain't black, but like close enough, So it's happening. Like, that's how fascism happens. It happens right before your eyes, very slowly. It's a drip, drip, drop, and then next thing you know, you got somebody jackboots, like slitting your wrists, slitting your throat in the middle of your living room because you didn't step up when you were supposed to. So I think. It's a fight that we need to keep up, and I hope that all of the people that are watching now on the Remix Morning Show with BLM, same with shout out Dr. Ball. I talked to him on LinkedIn. Like, please keep up the pressure, because I told Chris the last 2 weeks there's a lot of shenanigans. They're going to try to pull something. I already know, but we don't want anything crazy to happen. We just want people to see and put a spotlight on this, because the worst thing that can happen for the Japanese mainstream media is that they have egg on their face. Once they see other media outlets covering this, and the algorithm starts picking it up, and it's like, oh, like, how could you let this happen? I thought you were one of the most advanced, peaceful countries in the world. And it's like, no, like, we still have a lot of work to do here. For me, I've tried to carve out a little bit of space, because I don't want this type of stuff to happen easily and like under the radar, like it has happened with Chris. If we can make sure that we unify and we stay solid, it's very hard for people to attack us in this manner. So that's what I really want. Anybody that's watching and that will hear this is, we need solidarity. Like, put aside your ego and like, let's just fucking fight, man. Let's just go. Like, cause you either gonna fight or you gonna die anyway. Like, I'd rather die fighting,
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that, Maurice. Can you also talk about some ways that people can support Chris leading up to the findings for the appeal? Like, anything we can post online, or like places they can go?
Yes. So right now, at this point, because the ruling is so close and we're very, very confident that he will be released very soon, it's at this point, especially if you're not based in Japan, it's a bit late to write letters. However, we do have an Instagram where we post information and updates about his case. It's Justice for Chris Payne. That's the number 4, and Payne is Payne. I believe I put it under my name here. That's the exact handle on Instagram. We also have recently started a TikTok account. I think the handle is slightly different, but there's also a link tree on the Instagram that you can find it through if you have trouble locating it. Also, just yesterday, we posted, we will be organizing a demo outside of the courthouse slightly before and during his verdict hearing. They have relocated his hearing inside the courthouse to the largest available courtroom. So the Tokyo High Court is also acknowledging how significant his case is and the amount of media interest that does exist in it. And we will be, scroll down one more. I should pin it. I forgot to pin it. There it is, standing demo. Yes, thank you. So if anyone watching is in Japan or plans to be in Japan on December 11th, that's a Thursday, absolutely come and join us. The court proceedings will almost certainly only be conducted in Japanese, but you are more than welcome to stand outside with our other team members and show up for Chris. And, you know, if the worst happens and he's not released, then there will be more time to send him letters, and we can post information on that. We will be posting an announcement of the results. And, you know, hopefully in the near future, Chris himself will be able to interact. And if people want to hear more about his story, he might, maybe we'll see how he feels. It's really up to him. With him being in solitary confinement for 4 years at this point, our priority is always trying to give him as much autonomy as possible because so much has been taken from him. So if he wants to live a quiet life in obscurity, that's up to him. But yeah, at the very least, we will try to let everyone know on the Instagram. On the rare chance that anyone watching was at Tokyo Fight Club on July 12th, 2018, and they have some pictures and videos left over from that night. If you have them, and if Chris is in any of them, please contact us, just in case. But other than that, that's where we are right now. It's the best way to support. And you know, Chris is just one in many cases around the world like his. So absolutely look into organizations wherever you're living that are doing this kind of work and see what you can do and how you can support.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
so
got
much.
one more thing too. I'm an at-large member of Black Alliance for Peace. Anybody in the Chicagoland area, anybody that's in Indiana, because we're gonna get him home. Look out for him. I hope that you all have material support for him, because you know, if you live in Japan, it's a common thing that you have to kind of start over. So if anybody has any jobs or anything that you can support him with, you know, like put a pin in this right now, because he's from that area, and he, you know, the first thing he said, you know, when we were asking him like, do you intend on staying in Japan? He's like, hell no, we're gonna go back home. We got to see mama. We got to see his people. So like once he gets home, you know, he might want to come back and visit Japan. And obviously this is a movie right here. Obviously, you know, for all the people that are cinephiles out there, all of the details here. So if anybody wants to, you know, start drawing up that script, you know, hit Percival up, start getting it, you know, start getting it cracking, because you need to get in on the ground level, because it's gonna happen. I'm calling it here. It's gonna be either on. It's not going to be, it'll be on Netflix. I'm going to call it, it's going to be on Netflix, maybe Amazon Prime. But Chicagoland. Yeah. Chicagoland people, like, stand up. Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to pass it on to my comrade in Indiana and one in Chicago now. So appreciate it.
Yeah, Too Black. Tell Too Black.
What part of
you already knew who it was. Exactly.
Yeah,
Maurice.
Too Black.
Yeah. What part of Indiana, Maurice?
He's from, he's from all over the place. So
I think they did move. I remember saying before that they had moved a few times. There was an article published within, I think, the last 24 hours on the Chicago Post-Tribune. Someone was sharing it earlier in this call. And I know in that, I can't remember what the city was, but in that article, they do mention at least where his mother is living now. I think it is the broader Minneapolis area, I think.
Okay, bet. Yeah,
he's in
I
that
know
metro
Tulek is
area.
a good option, and then we also one of my best friends is one of the co-founders of BLM ND10, and they do like support for folks who are coming home from jail and other stuff. So I'll hit them up too.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
And thank you
Thank you
both
so
for
much.
coming on. And again, anytime you need to come on, share any updates, reach out. We have the space here. So appreciate both of you.
Thank you so much for having us on
All
today.
right. Thank you.
Peace, y'all.
All right.
All right. Ooh. My bad on the break on the run sheet, but we had to figure it out.
Nah, we made it work. I really appreciate
I think
it.
this just proves that the run sheet is a scam, and
No.
I'll never let y'all forget that. I'm never letting up.
The run sheet is life.
Sure.
Peace. Good morning, y'all. How you doing? Friday remix. Friday remix. We here. We live. And bow. I figured out the banners. Now that's the real. We got the run sheet.
Exactly.
I learned the banners. I'm learning the tech. So that's the real.
It only
real
took,
change.
4 years.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we haven't done that many shows. So if you look at the run sheet, which
I'm just joking. It only took
now
us like 2 years.
links and sources and show description. You see, we're only on our 11th show together, which is really cool.
It's been like a year almost.
Better. It's been a year since you've been on Friday. I've only been on 3 months.
I'm distressed. This is too much.
But we have a team now. We got us. We got Josh and Aaliyah who lace us with stories, things like that. And then this one check-in question.
Because one
for
thing
y'all.
about Lori, he gonna organize. He done recruited some random people we don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's
slow down. They've been
been here longer than you. Yeah,
you the random people.
He know them. I don't know them.
We go.
You the random people. Remember, if you the random people,
no, y'all.
Well, they love us. So as Josh laced us with this question, after Indigenous Day of Remembrance yesterday. If your family chef passes, grandma, auntie, mom, or if can you pick up the mantle and make the best meals for your family? If you lose
next
grandma.
question.
Dang, you ain't learned. What you can't cook? What are the secret dishes? First of all,
we don't have no
you can't
secret
cook
dishes.
You don't have nothing.
First of all, we don't have no secret dishes. Secondly, I don't eat most of the stuff they eat, so I'm good.
Are you vegetarian or vegan?
No, I eat regular food. I just don't eat a lot of stuff they eat.
On Thanksgiving?
I would say in general.
Okay. So you cook your
own
own
my family
food?
is a big soul food type of family anyways, and I'm not into eating a lot of soul food. Other than Thanksgiving or Christmas, I don't really eat it. So
that is probably the least Southern thing you've ever said. That's crazy.
It's not really that. It's just that I think that other than greens, everything else is a brown food and a starch and a carb, and all it does is make me tired, and it doesn't interact well with my ADHD. And to make sure that I don't have to take ADHD medicine for the rest of my life, I really try to eat foods that are going to give me energy or make me feel good. So I don't eat a lot of soul food, and I haven't ate like that since college. I stopped eating like that in college, so it's not a big shocker to anybody. I've kind of been like this for a while.
Got you. What about you, Geechee?
Well, I am the chef. One.
Sure he is. What you cooked yesterday?
I actually made some rice and peas, and we had some okra and some king oyster mushrooms, and then we fried.
It was fried okra?
No, stir fried okra.
Interesting.
Stir fried okra, sauteed okra with king oyster mushrooms in there, and then we fried.
Was it crispy on the sides? Or is there a sauce in there?
What? Wait, can I finish? Then
Can you cook? Can he cook?
Let me cook. Shit. So the mushroom you can shred it with a fork, so it can be stringy, like any type of shredded meat. And then we fried lion's mane as well. and then
Oh, because you're not eating meat.
Geach, you got
well,
that
I'm eating flesh. And you know, it's interesting that you say that you eat regular food, but then you say you don't eat soul food because it makes you sick. But the actual soul food is food that comes from the sun, SOL. That is actually real food. So yeah.
Well, I didn't say that it makes me sick.
Mhm.
You said that. I said that
Well,
it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me
my
feel
nigga, that's what?
tired. I didn't say it makes me sick. I don't feel like I have energy. I get energy from that food.
I see. Slight difference. Yeah.
No.
It's actually a huge difference. That's a big difference from saying if I eat this, I'm gonna get sick versus saying I'm eating this food.
I'm not gonna
and it's
feel my best.
Well, actually, sick could be figuratively or literally. You make me sick. You're not really
you can
sick,
go
but it doesn't feel good.
a different day, okay? We don't have time for this.
That's what I'm trying to say. We had time, but let me finish, and then you can finish.
Okay.
Okay.
How long does it take you to cook that all of that?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's so I soaked the red kidney beans the night before. So by the time I was ready to cook that, the rice and all that stuff was pretty quick. Lion's mane, same thing. Yeah, it happens really quick. So if I would have made some callaloo, that would have been quick too. It don't matter what. There's not a lot of things that I can think of that take a long time, vegan wise.
Did
You let the beans soak overnight and then you mix it with the rice?
That was my question.
Well, yeah, after I boil it. Yeah.
I know they're fine.
Yeah, I was about to say that flavor.
Yeah,
sure.
That was one of the few things I ate in Puerto Rico that was good to me. I didn't like the other stuff, but I like the
we got to catch up with you in Puerto Rico. That's right. You just had your trip.
It was exhausting.
How was the weather?
It was nice weather, but I was there for fellowship training, so I was like inside pretty much the whole time training, doing this stuff. We had to do our final conjunctural analysis and strategy lab worksheets. I had to present it 4 times over and over again. I did not crash out on anybody, even though I was very close. I did really well. Because there's one girl I was finna snap. I said, she asked about the political impact one more fucking time. I don't have no goddamn political impact. Did you hear me say political impact?
Wait, if you ain't crash out on them, don't come crash out on us either.
that's what we're here.
I'm not crashing out. I'm just saying. She just was asking the same question. I hate when people do that. But I know you guys miss me so much.
Of course.
Oh,
of course. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Where was you going?
So I think I told Lord, but I'm in the Movement Leader Fellowship at the Leadership, Democracy, and Social Justice Institute in New York. It's like for people all over, but it's for like movement leaders all over. And I've been in it for a year. It's a year-long fellowship. And our last retreat was in Puerto Rico, so that's why I was there. And on the last day, like Friday, the day we were supposed to do the show, I was in the rainforest. So that's why I couldn't be on.
I was gonna say, where'd they get you? You get to go see the Black people? You get to go to Louisa, or they had you in?
I went to Louisa. I went to we were in El Yunque for like 4 hours. Right. That was really cool. Yeah. And then I went to Playa Piñones. I went to this like street vendor that I found on TikTok that this girl was talking about. Like, it's really good. She's from Puerto Rico. So I went there. That shit was so fucking good. I was getting stuff I ain't never heard of, but they were so fire.
Yep. Shout out Bodie Ken. No question.
It was good. The food from there was great. I didn't like the food. We were staying at this Hilton resort. I didn't like that food. I think that sometimes when you go from doing like your traditional Puerto Rican food to trying to do Americanized things, it doesn't taste good. And that's what it was. Like when they had the traditional Puerto Rican food, I ate that stuff, like the fish and rice and beans. That was good. But like when they tried to do like beef stew and they tried to do like steak and something. Yeah. They had like salad, but there was no like ranch dressing or mashed potatoes. They didn't make good mashed potatoes. I was like, we should just go back to the rice and beans.
Stick to the roots. Let's stick to what we know. Play our game.
I love the rice and beans, so it's really all right.
Right. Exactly.
Remember them and Black and brown people also in the Caribbean.
Not on what?
They. You kept saying they. Who's they?
Caribbeans.
Oh, I say they, them pronouns a lot. I'm sorry.
We talking about the Caribbean.
They don't know how to cook this, this, that.
Okay. Oh.
They're different.
Who is they? Like, there's a whole damn people. Them people cook all type of food.
The Puerto Ricans. I actually walked around a lot and I got to like see different like monuments.
Vegan Puerto Ricans.
There are vegan Puerto Ricans. I actually went to a vegan spot. There was a Asian fusion place that was vegan, and it was really good. And I had some really good tea.
Oh
Yes,
no, I
Brittany,
think
there was no ranch dressing. I was not gonna
That's the
make
most
it. I just
American shit that
that's
you.
what I was
Of
about to
course,
say. All Amber was just saying when they try and do American food is bad, and I agree. Like,
talk
that's what I'm saying.
about.
Stick
It's
to your
American
core.
stuff. I think they should stick to the Caribbean food. I
so
think
why
that
you eating
also
American stuff over there in the first place?
that's what they had. The food was
Oh man,
You at the
pre-ordered.
Hilton? At the Hilton, Geechee, what you think?
that's why you shouldn't be at the Hilton.
TT in the back at
I
the
didn't
Hilton.
pick the hotel. I didn't pick any of this stuff.
The Leadership
I
in
was just
Democracy and
there
Social Justice
for the
Institute. We
free
got you,
trip.
Amber. We know.
Tell them to send you some resources and you go rent your own.
Well, they have to pick a place that fits all of us, and there was only one or
Yeah.
two hotels that could fit us. This is like 50.
Yeah.
It's not a small
Yeah.
fellowship. It's like the fellowship people and the staff from LDSJ. We are breaking into these small groups to do our conjunctional analysis, and they had 2 coaches per group. Like, it was a lot of us, so they had to find a place big enough. And there was only like 2 hotels who could do that, because that's what the girl was telling me. There was this one black girl, Sasha, that I'm really cool with. She was like, "Yeah, I wish we hadn't picked this one, but it was only 2 options, so it's what we went with." But I will say, being in the Caribbean really showed me how, like, what colonization can look like in a place that you don't think. I thought Puerto Rico was way closer to the United States than it is. And I just want to say that I did almost flunk geography in high school. I have never been a big fan of maps, and I have always been directionally challenged. So when I took my big brain and pulled out the map, I was like, okay, this does not seem right. Like, the way the map look, it feels like they're putting it closer than it actually is. Kind of similar to how we talked about Africa, how like Africa is smaller on the map.
On the map, yeah.
When we were doing like the Freedom Summer School thing. And I was like, this just feels like that this isn't accurate. So when I was looking at on the plane, looking at the thing where we're flying to, I'm like, this is far as hell. Like, this is not close at all. And then I was just thinking about the level of colonization, like, while I was there. Like, this very much, to me, when I was there, I was like, Puerto Rico is very much a whole different country. Like, they're not attached to the United States at all. But you can feel the colonization that's happened there, and like how the United States has like taken over. And I was like, this shit is crazy. It really bothered me the whole time we were there. We went to a really cool exhibit and talked to like Native Puerto Ricans about like how they tried to take over the electorate last cycle. They ran like a different party, and then they, like, this rival party got them taken off the ballot, kind of like how they do third parties here. And we're talking about that. It was really cool. And then I got to see like the different like abolitionist movements. They had like this whole abolitionist art exhibit that I took really cool pictures of. And I like that part of it. But I just learning the culture just showed me how much like we just colonize places. Because other than being able to spend
Careful, yeah. Go ahead, Geechee. You already said careful the we, but yeah. No, you're right. Like,
I mean, the United States colonizes places.
You there and them, and now you weird.
now you're weird. You're right. And we're gonna talk about someone who did that. We we had a story today.
I mean, they made sure that I knew I was from America, so I had to.
You from the empire, but that don't mean you American. We gotta be careful.
I was like, damn, I don't want to be from here. It sucks.
Nah.
The United States are such horrible people.
We got to have our Puerto Rican Liberation orgs on here. We have Rosa and Hiram already who rep on the platform. Diaspora Palante Collective does great work. So just, shout out our Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I think those are really good folks to bring on.
Yeah,
it was a good trip to me. I was busy most of the trip, but it was a good trip, and I liked learning about the history and stuff. Like of Puerto Rico as a country. That was lit. The beach was really nice. I love being in water, so I didn't get to go to the beach that much. I only actually went one time, but it was cool. But I was like, other than being able to spend the US dollar here, nothing about this feels American. All of it feels like colonization. But like they in their own fucking world. Like they just,
Yeah. And the corporate vibe of the US colonization, like the joke, the US is just 3 corporations in a trench coat. Like I really feel that when I was in Puerto Rico. They had flags, not just ugly US flags. But they had like subway flags, like flags the size of like the Toyota dealerships flying, and it was for like Subway or KFC. I shit you not. Yeah, it was the most.
No, I did go on a food tour, and I went to the Burger King, the Church's Chicken, and the Taco Bell.
Yeah.
It was definitely serving Jose Cuervo in the Taco Bell. Now that almost got me. I said, I could move for this, but also the Church's Chicken. I went there because my friend Chris is from Puerto Rico. He's the executive director of LDSJ, and so he was telling me like you should go to Church's Chicken. I don't eat Church's Chicken in the United States, so I don't eat it here. But I was like, sure, I'll go. I didn't get anything, but I did see the appeal of what he was saying. Like, it looked interesting. I did go to the Burger King though, and they had a chicken sandwich that was fire, and they had hot honey wings, and them just was hitting. And I was like, why the US don't get this? Like, they had a great menu. I was like,
Careful what you wish for, because that's
well, yeah, they only
someone
have
says
two of
this.
those, though. They only have the Taco Bell Cantina in New York and like Chicago. They don't have them in the South. Somebody
Gotcha.
asked me about, did I notice something about the power? I'm trying to find the comment. Did I note? Oh yeah, did I notice there was no power for traffic and streetlights? There actually was power for traffic and streetlights when I was there. When I was driving, I rented a car to go to El Yunque. When I was driving to El Yunque, there was power for traffic lights, but at our hotel, the power went out a few times. And one of my friends, Juanita, who I do yoga with, she's a yoga practitioner, and her family's from Puerto Rico. They have a compound there, and she visits there all the time. She was telling me that like they go half the year without power, which I also thought was fucked up. And I also think is a big infrastructure issue. But the people who did the panel for us were talking about how a lot of the infrastructure issues are because the government there has not worked to improve them. And that's one of the main things that they have been pushing around is like the level of colonization and the fact that this government is not working to fix these very serious things. But when I was actually driving around Puerto Rico, things were working fine. But when I was at the hotel, the power definitely went out a few times. And it's on the beach too. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but the power went out a couple times actually while we were doing our like strategy stuff. Do y'all want to hear what my conjunctural analysis was?
I was just gonna ask. In fact, before you even start that, people should remember to check out our remix glossary, Power by Black Men Build. So, for the people, can you tell us what is a conjunctural analysis? What is that, and then what was yours?
So basically, a conjunctural analysis is taking this larger strategy or idea and using these very specific questions they give us, like open-ended questions, to take this idea that I have, like what is the conjuncture I want to attack, and make it into an analysis with the full strategy behind it. And my conjunctural analysis was that using capacity building as a leadership development tool can sustain campaigns, specifically using the history of Amilcar Cabral and the way that he helped to build this campaign in Guinea-Bissau that eventually liberated them from the Portuguese even after he was assassinated, because the level of leadership development and campaign that he built up, like the actual principles of the campaign were so strong that even when he was killed, it was able to still continue. And a lot of people in our fellowship had never heard of him. I also talked about Ella Baker and the Mississippi Freedom Movement, and how the work that they were doing, they were only sending one or two people down there. And those people were training all of these other people. They were building up this larger movement that lasted for 10 plus years, and how that level of capacity building is what actually sustains a campaign to win.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you connect that? Because I think the conjunctural part is to the now. So what were you thinking about in the here and now when you were talking about Ancestor, Cabral, and Baker?
My bad, you broke up, Lord. What'd you say?
Oh, my bad. I was saying, so yeah, and then the conjuncture often tries to tie to the here and now. So when you're talking about Ancestor, Cabral, and Baker, how did that tie into the here and now for you with this capacity building and what you're working?
To me, it tied into the here and now because like the current political moment that we're in, I think requires the type of sustained campaigns that they use. Like the type of actual politic and organizing they use is what we need. And the reason why we have not been winning is because of that. Because every campaign that I've won was a sustained campaign. It wasn't something I just recently started. The campaign we run around those ordinances for Tyree Nichols was a 3-year campaign. We started when I first moved back to Memphis after the pandemic, when I moved back in like 2021. That was a campaign I had sustained for almost 2.5 years. It wasn't an immediate thing. And I was able to explain to people that you have to be able to like move baby step to get to what you want, even when you want to jump to the big thing. Because although it looked like I jumped to this big thing of passing 6 ordinances, I actually didn't. I worked to get elected officials in that actually cared about things we were talking about. We built up a base building team within the city of Memphis in our official Building Memphis chapter. I was educating people constantly on the importance of the city council meetings and how do we push them to vote for different things. I showed people how to write ordinances, and that took a very, very long time. And when I think about, so like I told y'all before, like I didn't know my ancestors were from Guinea-Bissau, but I've been studying Amilcar Cabral for quite a while. And so I thought the way that he organized, the way that he was able to explain principle and armed struggle to people as a tool to like win this big campaign of liberating themselves was, to me, the most important way to actually succeed at anything. And I wasn't seeing people here do that. They weren't able to like blend the two, kind of like the video that you showed in the beginning, where the mom was talking about how, yeah, voting is important, but it has to be used as this tool. And I think that people are doing one or the other. They're all in on voting or they're all in on organizing, but no one is blending the two. And that's why we're not getting the things that we want.
Sheesh. I'm gonna figure out how to do the drops next, so we can give you the flex bombs on that one. That was amazing. Thanks for that breakdown. Oh, I found.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Here we go. Listen, don't let me behind the scenes. Geechee, I had a question to follow up on that. How do you figure out what's a realistic time scale for like a campaign or something like that? So I talked to a lot of newer organizers, Amber, and sometimes this idea, even the Panthers talk about it like they thought they had instant revolution. So their time scales, like we just go over, throw this thing, revolution will be here tomorrow. You talk about campaigns for 3 years. Sometimes when I talk to younger folks, or I'd say the principal folks, they push back on it, and they're thinking it's going to be quicker. Oh, we can just do this in 6 months, all that kind of capital, sort of quarterly projections. How do you, Geechee, figure out like a timeline or how long you think a project will take?
Well, I think I don't know if that's what was even happening just now, but I think sometimes just being clear on what is like what are campaigns and what are like larger objectives that you might have. So for instance, like gentrification is not a campaign. I mean, you can't do that as a campaign. I mean, you can have a larger objective and should be some clear around there, but inside of that, there'll be certain campaigns that you might be running. And I don't know that there's a way to tell you the time limit on it. It really just depends on like what you're struggling for. So if you want to, for instance, we did the we got on our board, or I'm sorry, we developed a committee in our neighborhood association. And initially I was like, oh, well, no, this should take a year, right? But it was hard to kind of say when the time was going to come. It actually happened before the year was over. And so it really just depends on the time that you have something. Like, for instance, the situation with Chris, if there's a date that it's going to end, then your campaign might be shorter because you're trying to struggle against a particular date. But I think we probably do better to clarify like what we're talking about, because sometimes people call programs campaigns. And sometimes, again, people have larger objectives, but they don't really kind of have a political line to get to their objectives, policies and things like that. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I do know that sometimes I don't know if I'm hearing people are saying campaign versus program versus larger objective. And you can really never know until specifically you're talking about particularly what campaign and what timeline that you set on a said campaign based off of outside forces as well.
Right. Go ahead, Amber. I was going to just shout out my comrades Siraj and Chris, who just went through Hiram's George Jackson Organizing School to like define campaigns. Because Geechee, you were just right. Like the time-bounded element is something that people forget. And Amber, I'm sorry. Go ahead if you had to add on.
No, I was going to agree. I think that's something that a lot of folks who were, because there's 30 of us in the fellowship, and some people were talking about programs. Like my friend Micah, he works at Black Male Initiative in Atlanta, and he was talking about their programming, like the pillars of their programming was his strategy lab. Mine's specifically about campaigns. And to me, it is hard to pick a timeline. So even within my contractual analysis, I said a 2 to 4 year time period, because I have some partners in my job who I work on environmental justice campaigns that are going to take closer to 4 years. But then we have some folks who are working right now on campaigns around specific policy changes that are going to take maybe 2 years or sometimes 1. So I made sure to put like a little like time span in there, because I also have worked on a campaign that took me 2 years, but I thought it would take me 3. And to me, the difference is that like a program, I'm going to sustain that. Like that's not going to end. A campaign, I have an ended goal. Like this is what I want to do. After that, I'm done with it. We move to the next thing. And I prefer that because to me, in my political analysis, to achieve the things that I want to achieve, we have to keep pushing for more things, right? So if I keep sustaining this one program, but that's not changing the other policies to get me to the type of abolition that I want, then I'm not doing what I actually want. Like, this is my actual goal. My goal is to get us towards abolition. So that means I have these consistent campaigns that are pushing the needle, that are pushing for these changes, right? And so far, we're like halfway through those things. And those are campaign goals that I want to accomplish. And then I start the next thing to push them even further.
Appreciate that, yo. I might have to add conjunctural analysis to the remix glossary, so I appreciated that.
Conjunctural analysis gave me a headache. My big brain was hurting every day. And I do think that this was an example of how sometimes academic like ideas do help in organizing. I am typically not a big academic person other than like the degrees I've had, because I feel like sometimes it does kind of make it hard for people to understand what you're talking about. And this was actually a very hard thing for me to get. Like, this is a year-long fellowship. It was at like month 4 or 5, I was still struggling because it's not easy. Like, it's the very hard concept when you're an organizer. I think when you're an academic, it's not as hard. When you're an organizer, I'm thinking more big picture. We have all these different things we want to do. It was just hard for me to draw in on one thing and view that as like what my conjunctural analysis would be. And after I was able to do that, then it got a little easier. But I think it is like a difficult thing when you're a big picture person.
Definitely. And I want to revisit these things. But what you're saying is, how do we balance theory and action?
Yeah, I agree with Siraj too. He said campaigns are time bound. Return to your strategy chart and power mapping analysis if you don't win the campaign. And I actually just did this last week because it's not that we haven't won a campaign, but there's a campaign I'm working on that we haven't gotten to where I want to be. And so I went back and I power mapped. I changed some of the targets in the power map. I created some new escalations. I did a few different things to pivot the campaign in a different direction because I want to win. And I also am able to see far enough to know, like, if we reach a certain point, this is not getting us where we want to be. So let's pivot.
Definitely. I'm still learning these terms as well. So I appreciate when people have examples. So we'll definitely look at your example, Amber, when you're ready to present.
I'll send you a picture of it in our chat. Oh, you mean like present it on here?
We could just talk. You can send me a picture. We can figure it out. But I'm also studying conjunctural analysis. Okay, we could drop it on the Patreon. That could be cool, and we could have some other folks who are experienced with the conjunctural analysis maybe give us their examples and some famous ones. But I think that'd be dope to keep building on that. So, man, we had our check. We doing well, y'all. Wanna get into some news? Do we want to get into some stories for today?
I actually have to go.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry, y'all. I'm visiting my twin sister, and we're going hiking, so I have to go. I'm sorry, guys.
Wait, I forget. You're a twin. Aaliyah's a twin. That's so interesting. We got 2 twins on our Friday remix.
I was suckered into taking our fall pictures while I've been here. So I did family fall pictures the other day in the freezing cold weather. For my whole family's here. My mom, my nana, me, my twin sister. So because my sister lives where we're at, and yeah, it was a lot, but the pictures turned out great. I'll send some of those to our group chat too. But yeah, I promised her that we would go hiking. Actually, I'm the one who likes to hike, but she just wants to spend time with me.
Bet.
Yeah, Latif, actually, I love hiking. So fun fact, you guys, I love hiking. I love like hiking to find secret waterfalls. I do that a lot. I use like the All Trails app to like find stuff by coordinates. I love stuff like that.
Is Josh trolling me? There's no way there's no way we have 3 twins on this Friday.
You didn't know he was a twin?
Either he's trolling me or I did not know that at all. That would be crazy. We have 3 sets of twins.
That's wild. Twins are actually more, I think they're more prevalent than people think. And actually 2 of the people I'm dating right now are also twins. One of them is an identical twin, has a twin brother, and then the other one has a girl twin.
No, that's a crazy parlay, y'all. I have no idea what the chances of that are.
I thought she was saying that she was dating 2 twins. I was like, yo.
No. Actually, the one who has an identical twin brother, even though they're supposed to look alike, he looks way better than him, and he looks different to me. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a twin.
What? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Identical twins look different.
Wait. The brother look. You're one. I don't know. I'm confused. You said what?
They're identical twins, but one of them has long locks, like real long locks, and I think that's what makes him look so different to me. But the one that I'm dating has a low fade fro haircut type of thing going on. Like he like faded on the sides and got some hair growing in the middle.
And you said which one look better now?
The one with the low haircut, the one that I'm talking to.
Oh, okay. You said that pretty fast. I ain't really.
Oh yeah, no. And then the other one has a twin sister, so I'm dating the other guy.
So I'm not being trolled. Wow, that is crazy. We have 3 twins on here. That is.
Twins
and then
my
nieces were over yesterday. They're twins too. That's interesting. And then I actually saw this. Yoruba have some of the highest rates of twinning in the world, especially towns like Igbo or in Nigeria. And I had someone theorize it was related to the phytonutrients and yams.
I heard something about their diet as part of it, but actually the guy that I'm talking about that has a girl twin, he's Yoruba.
It just says something about okra. What did you say about okra just now? About the twins and okra?
I heard something about like this,
yams.
Yams.
And like on that page you just pull up has something.
Let me pull it up. Yeah.
I carry something about okra.
Because that would be interesting if the diet relates to the twin rate. It says genetic factor diet. There are local theories that consumption of a specific type of yam or stew made from okra may contribute to the high rate of twin births. The scientific evidence is, well, that just could mean they haven't researched it yet, but that is interesting.
So yeah, my best friend is Yoruba, and he said that there's like these all these like stories about how the okra stew is like a big reason why so many Yorubas have twins. I don't know. There's a lot of twins in my family too. We have like 4 or 5 other sets in my family.
Well,
I saw that. Thanks, Sela.
Have a great time, Amber. Cover up if it's cold. Enjoy the hike.
I will. It was so good to see y'all, and I will be here next Friday, you guys. My crazy schedule is coming to a slower pause.
Nice. The holidays coming up.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy yourself.
Peace.
Thanks, y'all. Peace.
And I'm gonna slap the map, and we'll come right back. Peace. Good morning. Welcome to Friday Remix. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't, please support us on Patreon because that's the only way we get any kind of revenue for this platform at the moment. All right, Geechee, I had this interesting story to follow up from last week when we were talking about, remember we were on the DHS's website and we were looking at who's in leadership and why they're talking about y'all are making stuff up when they're no longer calling swastikas and nooses hate crimes. Mm-hmm. So this feature, shortly after our episode, I saw a very interesting screenshot. So this is the story how X's new feature location exposed big U.S. political accounts. And I don't know if you saw this, Geechee, but it was, wow, hold on. You see this? Did you get a chance to see where the Department of Homeland Security's account was created?
Israel App Store.
Israel. Wow, that's interesting. The app that was copying our speech patterns to talk about how hate crimes aren't a problem was made in July 2008 in Israel. Crazy. Now, what was even more wild is I think they tried to meme. We can go on their page. Let's see. I think they tried to meme it like it was no big deal when they got caught. I'll see if this whole page is haunted. I don't care how. Never mind. But they're doing all these jokes like "get me to the base department" and again copying our slang, trying to sound like youth, trying to sound, I guess, real. And then we see that they were based in Tel Aviv, Israel. So wanted us to start there. Any thoughts? Is that a surprise to you?
No. I think if you think about what the homeland security is even made for, and then how Israel and the United States are in relationship, it would seem like that department would be in lock and step with Israel as they try out their new toys on counterterrorism and security and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah,
even more.
Right. It's scary because people do fall for it, but it's completely botted. So X has all of this data, and it's showing what we kind of already know. I'm sure you've seen it on Instagram. I actually seen it on some of your own posts on Instagram, which is funny, where some account that usually has 3,000 posts, 100 followers, and is following 7,000 people says something racist, and you're like, who is this? Who is this person? Like, well, who are you? Are you a real thing? Well, of course not. They're a bot. So some of the X's data is talking about Trump Army, for example, and it says the account is based in India. So it's very interesting. And there's some other places. Ivanka News, someone that's following Ivanka Trump, the account is based in Nigeria, connected via the Nigeria App Store. So it's funny. Global imperialism, people are being forced to act like bots or work at bot farms and spit out propaganda slop for the U.S. empire. So just thought that was pretty relevant to our story yesterday, but something light to get us started. What else? Do you see any of these? Did any of these stick out to you? There were some crazy things today. A few rabbit holes to go down with our 30 minutes left. Did you want to talk about Killer Mike, Thanksgiving and Leonard Peltier, or this eugenics campaign in New York?
I didn't see the Killer Mike one, so we can play it.
Okay. Yeah, Jared covered it earlier this week. So shout out again to Lunchtime Lives that he's been doing, but it didn't scratch my itch. I had some things I had to say about the Killer Mike situation. So hold on, let's see if we can find it. Hopefully.
Just a link. Is it a video?
It is, and I'm trying to find the exact clip because they go into it, and this whole thing is 14 minutes. I don't want to spend too much time, but we'll skim through it. So, have you seen that viral video in the church with Killer Mike and
with Candace Owens in them, the revolt?
Yes. Can you give some people some context for that video? Like, why is he there talking about it? I'll try and find that one too, real quick.
I mean, well, he's there to set the margins on the left, I guess is why he's really there. But because he was, in fact, I think that revolt video actually got him, it recirculated energy around him and took him from a man who rapped goods to more of a political theorist, because he was pitted against, I think Diddy did it. I'm sure Diddy did it. He was juxtaposed to, I think T.I. was on there, and then Candace Owens, and he was just like pretty much talking about how niggas ain't serious because they ain't learned how to shoot and the guns and farming. And he was saying a bunch of the same typical shit that culture nationalists love, and they'll invite you to the cookout the minute you just use the language. And I think this space threw him back onto the scene as, you know, a real revolutionary. This is, I think, is prior to the Keisha Lance Bottom thing. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the video that made him more of a somebody who should get the mic and talk about political shit.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right on how he puts a boundary on the left, makes us look unserious. So again, at the All Black National Convention in Atlanta, he says, who knows how to fish? Who knows how to hunt? Who shoots on a regular basis, meaning once or twice weekly? Who farms or grows their own food right now? I don't even want to play the video because it's played out.
You know what I just missed? I'm sorry. Go up.
Good.
I just realized Boyce shared this, and it's a good chance that initially Boyce yeah, like, so both of grip
good catch.
Grip the solidarity.
Grifter, yeah, class solidarity among grifters, absolutely. So It's this very impassioned kind of thing that makes people who aren't as studied think he sounds like Malcolm. When he speaks this kind of rhetoric, you can't hunt, you can't fish, you can't shoot. Now, the first thing I like to point out is, do you? Like, where is your organization? Because he just tells black people we don't do anything. And then Malcolm would tell you to join the nation. Or then after that, tell you to join the OAU. So Killer Mike says all this shit and then doesn't have anything. So that's, again, the grifter tactic number one that I think we want to pay attention to. But the other thing, again, is by making the left look unserious. And I think he demonstrates that in cases like this. Now, it's a little slick. Well, we can do the play-by-play breakdown like Jared did. But, yeah, I don't think he's ready at all. So let's give this a watch. See if I can find the part. So they start talking about Haiti at some point.
You don't have to follow orders. Now, Trump, of course, went ballistic. Already in the military.
To make sure the average working class American is dumb. The average
You think
soldier.
that's a conspiracy?
Yeah, I do. Because I think that brother know we killed Gaddafi. We knocked him off the motherfucking
Right, sure,
face.
absolutely.
All right, so we can start with him saying we in this whole segment because he's going to say we a lot. But I'm trying to find the Haiti portion. We can let it play for a little bit. I think it's around here.
Yeah. All right, you're like, absolutely. But as a black person, I saw slavery return to Libya. I saw a man who was willing to help black people in their plight and their struggle by giving billions, ignored. I saw someone who wanted to unite Africa under one currency and have a potentially United States of Africa. And I know how dangerous that is to Europe and the United States. I saw that crushed. And as an American, I had to shut the fuck up, go with the Republic. But that's something, if I ever had a chance to talk to Obama, I'd really say,
So you see Gaddafi good guy?
I see Gaddafi has been not as bad as they said. But I can't see any president I have as a good guy. I love Obama. The symbol of Obama is up in my motherfucking house. He's a black man. He became president. And he did more drone bombings than any other U.S. president before him. He and Hillary Clinton disturbed a country called Libya, in which you used to have a free house, free education, free, and now it's not free anymore. And there are people who look like me that aren't free. So as much as I love my republic,
it was a very repressive dictatorship.
I hear what you're saying. We're living under one now. We ain't storming the fucking White House.
It was not. You know what?
There's ICE walking down American neighborhoods.
Okay, if you think that's the same as Libya,
I didn't say the same. I said repressive.
But let's have some perspective.
All right.
Because it's very.
Before y'all go.
All right, we got that's already an issue. So, Geechee, what do you think about? We had to. I love my republic, as Killer Mike likes to say.
Yeah, I'm so tired of that dude. I didn't even like
know.
and it's like so. I'm thinking about like charismatic leaders in the organizations and like how there's like maybe nothing that could be done for those folks to be like held accountable or whatever. Like they're not accountable to anybody. But in this space where he's not a charismatic leader in the radical org, he's just entertainer who, as people believe, has left thoughts and rhetoric and can say Gaddafi. And the fact that you can say Gaddafi, as they would say on TV in front of these white folks, makes you even more legit, because you said not what you said about Gaddafi and how you said it about Gaddafi and how you were conceding to him saying, well, he ain't that bad. This dude shouldn't be ever speaking for anything that has anything to do with anything left at all.
I want Bill Maher to name 2 cities in Libya. I want him to do it off top. Like, let's do it. Like, come on, man. Like the same way, because they can turn this on. And Tucker Carlson turned it on to Ted Cruz, where they know these people are uninformed, as you're pointing out. So, like, let's do this, Killer Mike. Like, stop this bullshit. Ask him some questions. Let's be real specific about Libya. But Killer Mike, as you said, man, like
Killer Mike is there to, again, I think this is, and maybe Jared pointed this out and hate that I would have to regurgitate it because Jared, this is another reason why Jared work is so important. Like, whatever happens to this nigga, he ain't got no money, or he ain't got the same much money, or he's trying to keep the money train going. So that's why he had to start that bullshit ass show Conversate. And in exchange for me to say some dumb shit for you to be able to use, I'm going to get some free branding on this national syndicated big ass radio station. And so now niggas gonna say, what's this Conversate? And that's gonna up his views. Like Killer Mike is there as a business venture to promote his conversate as he converse about some of the dumbest shit.
Yep.
So
And
that's it's a media appearance for him.
I 100% agree, and you're right, because you got to see the branding, as someone already pointed out the shirt. What bothers me is I also think that Killer Mike thinks he's informed and eloquent. I think he believes that in his heart of hearts, and the way that he can't even take on Bill Maher here, right, just shows how hollow his work is. Again, we don't really have work other than his business ventures that he's trying to hustle people into. But this to me is like super frustrating. Even growing up, I watched Mark Lamont Hill debate these white folks, and at least there'd be some fire to it. There's at least a little source there. He has some truth, but doesn't conflict at all. Like bro said, it's a repressive dictatorship, and you can't compare it to here. You're telling a black person we can't compare it to here? And Killer Mike just sits here and lets this white man talk in this very smug and uninformed way, which he's paid to do. So the fact that Killer Mike can't push back at all or won't is crazy. But I also think there's a part of him that thinks he can and actually gets challenged in a way I think a lot of people who might be radical sounding but don't actually put in work on the ground sound. So that's why I wanted to talk about his Haiti piece, because Bill Maher does the white people thing. The gaslighting, like, oh, it's that bad? Or, oh, what happened? Or what do you mean the French are in Haiti? They're gone for you. He does all of the young Republican stuff I've been saying since I was like 10 years old, right? To make black people, colonized people feel like we're insane for actually discussing history. So the way Bill Maher tricks Killer Mike here is just pretty embarrassing. So let's
the French get the fucking live off Haiti.
I really like that.
It's very easy to lose.
And when the emails came out, the emails said essentially we were doing it for the French. Like, how long do the French get to fucking live off Haiti, Libya, West Africa? How long before you got to ante up what's in the Louvre?
The French are still living off Haiti?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why can't they fix it then?
Why can't Haitians fix it?
No, the French. If the French are so involved.
There's no interest in color. Don't you read France Fanon? Did you read Wretched of the Earth? You dated enough black.
Yes, you, Bill Maher. Didn't you read Wretched of the Earth? Bill Maher. Didn't you, Bill Maher, read France Fanon? It's just so ridiculous. And it's the kind of thing people do when they're backed into a corner and they like realize they don't actually have the facts. They try and point you to the person who would have the facts, which is true. If you do read France Fanon, you'll realize why what Bill Maher is saying is bullshit. But Killer Mike, while as a representative on stage right now, needs to be the one to have those facts. And he does it. He's not prepared. As Malcolm said, he's an entertainer. He's a puppet and a clown. So here we go. He can't say shit about Haiti. He tells Bill Maher, go read Fanon. As Bill Maher says, what does France have to do with Haiti?
But they're not going to think there's no interest in color. Don't you read France Fanon? Did you read Wretched of the Earth? You dated enough black people to know this shit. You know that.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to tell them at night.
The French pulled out of Haiti like in 1806.
No, what I'm saying though is Haiti has been punished since 1806. Yes. Frederick Douglass wrote about this too, for being an example that you can without colonizers. And to end colonization is going to take some form of violence. I think anyone who threatens colonies or the colonists are crushed. So whether Gaddafi was ultimately, in my eyes, good or bad,
I mean, the people who are
better than what they have now.
The people who have been repressing the people in Haiti for a very long time are not French.
Shit, me.
They're other Haitians. You don't really.
They're Haitians that are put into
Papa
place.
Doc Duvalier
let's
was
not
French.
Act like we don't put dictators into place.
Okay, but they're not French.
Yeah, I'm about to say. We help them come to power.
They're not French. They're not Americans. They are Haitians.
So the benefits,
they're Haitians.
No benefits go to the French from Haiti anymore.
Tell me what? I'm not aware of that.
I'm just saying, Haiti still
tell me, what's going on?
As far as I know, Haiti's still sending money to France, that's all.
Sending money?
Falling apart. That's what I know.
Okay.
And we need to do.
So again, like this is media, this is psychological warfare. Bill Maher constantly asking questions about actual historical facts is why these colonizers exist. And the fact that he's even portrayed as like a liberal when he's super right-wing. He's basically the alt-right, like at this point, but has his old brand. Is wild. And Killer Mike only knows as much as a Twitter thread. And maybe if he had, paid his $5 to BAP and actually attended a lesson, he would have been able to answer this question instead of just saying that, oh, they're paying to France. You don't know that debt. You don't know that indemnity, because when he said they're out of there in 1806, you would have pointed out that the French threatened to reinvade right after that. So this is correct. He doesn't know the indemnity. To Dre's point, he was not able to point out that the indemnity was paid in 1940s, I believe. And so one thing I wanted to share, again, if Cuddly Mike had actually paid attention, he could go on to BAP's Haiti Americas team and read about Haitian colonialism and talk about U.S.
I actually don't even want him to do that, because I feel like the work and the seriousness of an organization like that, for him to just go on there to get some ammunition to go and spew there.
Oh, right. Of course
wasting
not.
everybody's time, because he's not going to push anybody to a larger struggle. But this motherfucker looked like this sounds like a bad joke. I walked into a bar and an aspiring black capitalist is trying to explain neocolonialism to a motherfucking right-wing nigga who look like or act like he liberal. Like, I mean, what the fuck is happening? Like, of course he can't explain neocolonialism. He can't explain black capitalism. In fact, he's an aspiring black capitalist. So what the fuck would he, like, that nigga, man.
This is what I'm saying. And yes, Geechee, no question. I do not want him using us opportunistically. My point was that he tried. He gave that $5 and then didn't do shit. And if he did, one of the first things he would have found is some information so he doesn't get smacked by Bill Maher. Look, you're going to grift, but you don't got to grift by looking bad, like getting smacked like this. And I know what's sad is, like, you know, to less politicized people, it's going to look like Killer Mike is holding his own, but he is not, y'all. He's not. He's losing on every single point. He doesn't know about when the French payments ended in the 40s. He doesn't mention U.S. occupation, direct invasion and occupation. Direct invasion. Wall Street consolidated their near monopoly control on Haiti's finances, banking, and industry, and rewrote the Haitian constitution, installed a puppet president, imposed precedented and martial law. Now, he does hint at, oh, we install some people. We. He doesn't mention this. And the lack of specifics is intentional. One, because he doesn't know, but then two, because then he would have to point you to some serious people. And that's my point, Geechee. Yes, he's going to mention, did you read Frantz Fanon? Like something goofy, and then another person that Bill Maher can never interview, right? But he could have said Jemima Pierre, right? And then Bill Maher would look goofy, because that's what you were saying before, like the left is not serious when you bound it at Killer Mike. But when you go to someone like Jemima or the comrades at BAP, it's a lot more straightforward. Another point about Killer Mike that I was trying to share as well, though, is that this dude is not tapped into his community at all. And so that was why when he says, do you fish? Do you hunt? Do you shoot? I'm in an org that does all those things. And they have an analysis of capitalism that's not yours. So even with Black Men Build Miami, I wanted to just highlight something we did earlier this year, but it was a protest for one of the people who was put in,
mention Haiti
power by the U.S. and Biden group and things like that. Was President Michel Martelly. So he's talking and he can't even tie it to the local, which is what Malcolm tells us to do. So we talked about this just this year, and we had to have a campaign to get this dude out of the cultural center because they were about to have this murderer performing in front of children. And the Miami has a very popular Haitian community. So this is the kind of work that is grounded. So if you actually know what you're talking about, then someone like Bill Maher can't just, is that true? Is that true? Is that true? No, you can point him to certain contradictions that he can't avoid. Like this. Why is the Little Haiti Cultural Center letting this installed dictator perform in front of children? And why is this person who was a street performer basically, or a musician, like a celebrity or whatever, even president in the first place? Like, these are the questions you don't get on Bill Maher. So just, I don't know. I think there's a little bit more. I don't know who this Donna Brazil. Oh, sorry. The guest next to him is Donna Brazil.
Yeah. She'd be writing some weird books too.
Thank you. Yes, some context. She also is kind of playing the fence as well and saying, I like what Killer Mike's saying, but then letting Bill Maher rock. So we can close the segment. I think is a little bit more.
She with it, bro.
At all. at all.
To do more to help countries like Haiti, especially.
So what's
now.
what's to do more? I would say we need to reparate countries we've called. There's a payment to be made to help countries get. So we took Libya. What have we done to help their country become democratic and get back in a better state? What have we done to help Haiti do it? Haiti is the reason.
I get the analysis. It makes sense, and yet it's this. It's the Kwame Ture half truth is more dangerous than the full lie. Like, what do you mean we need to help them? How have we helped them get democratic? You said it already. Under Gaddafi, they were democratic. You're literally describing that you destroyed the democracy. You're like, this was it. We destroyed the democracy, but now that it's gone, how are we going to break them off some of our U.S. dollars? How are we going to reparate that? Like, it's insane to listen to this. But it's already earlier on in the conversation where he lost. He'd been lost. He lost when he gave it up for the repressive dictatorship thing, which we talked about with Zoran in Venezuela. You lose the moment you let them tell some lie about imperialism. You lose. So this was it. You know, Jared covered this a little bit earlier, but you know, this black capitalist says, "Get me paid." Obviously, pay some reparations. Give us a black bank in Haiti, that kind of thing.
We got Louisiana and west of that. America really owes Haiti. We kicked the French's ass so bad, it was like, fuck this, we'll sell New Orleans. Y'all have the Saints, y'all have Donna.
I mean, you can stay mad at the past forever, but at some point you got to move forward and make things better in
I'm
the
not
future.
saying I want to move forward. I'm just saying put something in my pocket for your socket. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, let me have something for my move forward. That's how we do it for other nations.
But get back to your original point. I mean, as a daughter of a veteran, I have to say this, and I love my veterans. I love the military. The military is the most trusted institution right now in American society.
Hey.
Media suck, church.
Yo,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Congress
Donna is wild.
yeah,
She's just like him.
the
She
church.
got, you know.
I mean, institution.
The
The church is different from our Lord.
All right, y'all. All right. I put us through enough. I put us through enough for the people, for the clips, for the analysis. We did it.
Chucking and grinning. Look at that grin.
Oh my goodness. The
He
U.S.
said, put
military.
some money in my pocket. I want to move forward. I want to move support.
Put some pocket in before you suck it. Again, like this corny, cornball shit, bro. Conversate. Yeah, no one's surprised to, you know, that Killer Mike and Donna Brazil are prepared for this kind of content. But again, I just want to point out the things that he will touch, and then the red tape that he dances around, to your point about how he bounds the left. He makes it sound, he sounds like those arguments. A lot of people will see those arguments as radical. A lot of people will then see Killer Mike as a trustworthy person that they can go to, that they can listen to for analysis and things like that. But he won't even bring up the U.S. occupation. So the fact that he didn't bring up what we talked about with BAP's PE around the U.S. intervention and occupation, the fact that he didn't bring that up earlier is what allows Donna Brazil after to then come in and say, oh, well, the most trusted institution in the U.S. right now is the military, right? So,
Yo, so that reminds me of when he was on many interviews he had. He had one on Sway from New York Times, the white Sway, and then he had some on the black Sway, and he said horrendous things on both of them, right? But I remember one time he was on the black Sway, and he said something about, yeah, slavery was bad, and da-da-da-da-da, but then it made a lot of money, and we need to get in on some of it. And so I'm like, bro,
ADOS, the FBA, PSYOP.
The son of a police officer who cried and realized what Malcolm said that these celebrities would do. That whenever you start tearing shit up, he'll bring the celebrities out there crying and telling you to go home. And that's what he did. He cried in Atlanta for Keisha Lance Bottom and said, go home while you wearing a shirt. Keep your mask.
Go home. That's right. Thank you, Geechee. We need that. That needs to be a drop. Just like the Kamala Harris do not come. We need Killer Mike. Go home.
Don't burn your own house down for anger of your master. Like,
burn the master's house. He burned the plantation. But he talk about Haiti. He's a funny guy. But always important to point those things out. I think we got, I mean, I'm chilling today. It's holiday weekend. If you want to get into, I don't know if you saw this ad, this eugenics ad, but I'm gonna, let me get us on this next story. So, eugenics is back, baby. So check this out. This is an ad that you're seeing, you know, got to walk down the street in America. And so they got going on. All right. So have your best baby. IQ is 50% genetic. Oh boy. Oh boy.
What's that first bit? Go back, start it over. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's start it over. So you go to, you're walking down the subway and you get to see this in New York City, of all places. So this is an ad for a new startup around in vitro fertilization. And so they discussed their campaign here, Have Your Best Baby, pickyourbaby.com. Oh boy. And yes, there no question. So we're back. So this is pretty wild. So this is a startup called Nucleus, and it's about IVF. And it's just clearly have your best baby, all of that. Now, again, this kind of just faceless, horrific tech campaign needs to have people behind it. So I immediately went and looked up who the hell put this together. Who is this person? And so here is the CEO. Had to find him on IG, of course. His name is Keon. I think he mentions he's Persian as his background. He's a very light Arab, potentially white passing, depending on who you ask. And he is the CEO behind this company. He tells a vague story about how his dad said some negative things about the government, didn't specify which government, and then sailed to the US, and it was an American dream. That's what he talks about. So this is an immigrant coming to the US and doing eugenics. You gotta love it. You gotta love the Irish, right? So here's a quick video of an interview about his Silicon Valley tech startup. You know, shout out to Wayne Monroe talking about these tech giants and how they operate. So let's check it out. Oops.
Of super children, unfortunately. Elon Musk will be devastated.
Musk will be devastated. Yeah,
if I was a parent, say I came to you, obviously we've gone through the process of screening for disease, and if I was interested in this aspect around IQ, what would it look like?
Basically, we have IVF Plus, which is, again, this kind of a new IVF option that is designed for parents to have their healthiest child. We learn a bit more about basically, kind of what's your timeline, where are you based. We learn a little more about what's your budget. And then depending on all these variables, we actually match you to basically the best clinic and the best physician. We are building out an exclusive network of what we call IVF Plus clinics, built around, not just kind of a parent having a child, but having, their healthiest child, trying to give their child the best start in life. Then the patient will basically start off with our adult DNA testing, which looks at actually 2,000 different diseases, which to my knowledge is one of the highest, if not the highest in the entire industry. After they do that testing, we identify any rare genetic markers, things like Tay-Sachs or cystic fibrosis or PKU. We do genetic analysis for diseases and traits, things from like height and IQ all the way to cancers. In the embryo, we do then the IQ and height and cancer, et cetera. So basically you'll be able to see for like IQ or height specifically in our Nucleus embryo software platform, you'll be able to see basically the predicted relative difference between each of the embryos for both height and for IQ. And that's how it works.
I can't come to you and say, I want to breed a legion of...
Oh boy. All right. Yeah. I see your face. What are we? What is your initial thoughts, my friend? How we feel with it?
I mean, I want to hear some more experts in our space talk about reproductive health. In fact, so I had this experience last night with I was at my brother's house and it's probably off topic, but it's still kind of on. And I was at the table full of women, black women, I think Mexican woman and another Latino woman. And they were all talking about how one of them, my sister-in-law, was had to go so far to drive to a gynecologist because of how misdiagnosed and all the other issues that the, black women and brown women face inside this unhealthy uncare system. And it like made me think about being back in Cuba when there were black and brown black and brown women from the US talking to some women who've been through the Cuba healthcare system, and they all would talk about how caring and how helpful, and there's a doctor in each village, and even though there's prices in the hospital, the government provides this healthcare, and then like I'm like hearing women struggle with like being terrorized by again this U.S. Supposedly healthcare system, and then seeing them be like not dumbfounded, but like crying, hearing how easy it is for women to exist and how much it is for them to be cared for medically, and then I go from that to like even this motherfucker who whatever he's got going on. That's initially what it made me think of because I just had that conversation, but yeah, I don't even know that I don't even know if I have enough like background understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I mean, I see how they're connected because reproductive justice and healthcare would actually, solve a lot of these anxieties that people have. And this is some sort of luxury capitalist solution, right, to the problems. And
Yeah.
so I hear that. I would obviously want to talk to geneticists, to biologists, psychologists, people like that about this subject. But I do know, one, it's just something I've explored for a very long time, studied independently. Also, something that I've studied as an educator as well, which is IQ testing, psychometrics, things like that. So this whole premise starts from this idea that you can genetically test for IQ. IQ is 50% genetic, whatever that means. And that already is a lie. So I just think for folks who aren't in that field, that sounds like it might make sense. Like, oh yeah, it's nature, nurture, whatever, but it's made up. So you cannot test for IQ. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe you can test for developmental delays in people, but IQ is a specific culturally bounded test that can be improved. It is not some measure of intelligence. And then again, if you ask people, what does IQ measure? They'll say intelligence. You can say, how is that measured? And they can't answer the question because IQ testing is not like temperature or height, which is what it's being compared to. Height has a very specific unit of measurement, time, distribution, things like that. Intelligence is not that. Just some quick sources, because I know we're going into overtime, that I wanted to drop that I think are helpful for this. This is a very common white supremacist line of reasoning. That's why we mentioned eugenics. So one thing I'd point out is they usually go to these global IQ studies. And so, well, let me start here. I think this is probably easier. So where does this kind of idea come from? It's eugenics, which was a movement to purify weaker or inferior traits, often meaning colonized people, immigrants, people with disabilities, that kind of thing, right? And people like Richard Lynn, Charles Murray, Richard Herrnstein, if you've heard of them, you've heard of these kind of people. But it starts with this very simple hypothesis, of course, that exists to justify the world we live in. So it says IQ differences are, and they love to say partly. So again, look at that 50% genetic, responsible for differences in national wealth around the world. It ends with the claim that the gap between the rich and the poor will be impossible to eradicate. In between is a remarkable creation and molding of data to show the statistical correlation the hypothesis required, but there's a circularity in the whole exercise. In other words, they say we're dumb to justify why we were enslaved, and then we remain dumb according to their tests because we're enslaved. So I think it's really important to know that, but to also do our due diligence on where this stuff is coming from. So this is one researcher. There are quite a few. And the thing about the scientific community sometimes is I think they're hesitant to make firm statements, right? But there was a lot, just like what we were hearing with Chris's case about how many ridiculous and unethical things happen at every stage. There's so many ridiculous and unethical things that happen with these IQ studies, but a common thing white supremacists use, just like the criminology data that's made up, is this idea that there's this map, and you'll see the map and it'll say the average IQ of Africa is 70, which according to that test is mental retardation or something like that. And they cite the study, and then they all cite themselves, similar to the myth of buying power, where it all comes from one place, this Richard Lynn data, but they keep citing it over and over. And so there's a mountain of research that's been built on this national IQ data set. So thankfully, this one researcher, Rebecca Sear, has been going around and trying to get people to retract that data set that says the IQ is lower in the developing world and the colonized world. What ended up happening was this researcher, who openly says that he is a race scientist, openly, went around and made up a bunch of data. So there's absolutely no scientific merit whatsoever in the National IQ database here, Total Retraction Watch. That means any conclusion drawn from the database will be faulty and worthless. So we don't have as much time. I inspire people to check it out. All of our links are in the show description now. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole, please do. But just realize that the foundation of all of this data is made up eugenicist research. And so that is how this person in the 21st century is talking about breeding people for IQ and things like that. The only other source I wanted to share, Geechee, was this one. Really good article on Charles Murray, because again, a lot of the white debate bro types like Bill Maher will say, well, he has a point, like maybe there are genetic differences. We're not all the same. Maybe there are small differences in IQ among races and populations. Again, IQ, got to deal with how that's made up. But this Charles Murray person is always presented like a scientist, as if he was a serious and objective, they love that word, scholar, empirical, he's rational. But I just love to start with this for anybody who cites bell curve related research to me. From his earliest days, Charles Murray was, to put it charitably, a shockingly oblivious human when it came to matters of race. As a teenager in the 1950s, he and some high school friends staged a cross burning on top of a hill. Murray claims he was stunned when the residents of his Iowa town instantly thought the flaming cross was somehow racist. This is Charles Murray, author of The Bell Curve, where all of this IQ quote unquote research comes from. So I just want to point that out. There's another article that does an intellectual autopsy on all of the sources for this bell curve research, and it goes to show how it was Nazi groups like American Pioneer Fund and things like that funded all of this research in the first place. So I would love, Geechee, if we had somebody on, who's more familiar with the genetics aspect, but just some of this stuff we need to just have on hand. I don't think it takes much research to be like the guy who participated in cross burnings, made up some data about Black people. I don't think that's too hard.
Yeah, I think Amos Wilson handled it very well in the development psychology of a Black child, when he talked about how the IQ test is pretty much a cultural test, and in terms of like physicality and other things. Maybe people argue about melanin, how Black babies actually have a couple things that might be maybe seen as an advantage, like being able to balance your head and all those other things. And once you get to the economic factors of child rearing, that's when the measures start to happen. That has nothing to do with. And so between that book and Black on Black Violence, where he talked about the crimogenic environment and society of the U.S. and how crime is even labeled, I think between those two books, it will be very interesting to see what the white lady that you had up, like how her work complements what Amos was doing in the 80s. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's related to what we've talked about on here with think tanks, because the role of think tanks in advancing this research is super important versus organic think tanks like you, which are advancing Amos Wilson's work. So I just want to highlight that parallel. It's really important. And yes, Zenzi, so I was a child, but it was also very popular in some of the elite, quote unquote, schools I went to. Again, because there's a lot of anxieties around affirmative action, us being, there because we didn't earn it. And so people then look for justifications to explain why we're there and didn't earn it. And so this becomes very useful for them. There are people like Dr. Shay Akil McLean, dialectical biologist, I think, who would be great. Definitely was on Black Myths podcast, so check that out. But yeah, this stuff is pretty disgusting, unfortunately, and I'm tired of it, but it isn't going to stop rearing its ugly head because it is useful, because we are dealing with the crisis of the U.S. and immigration will always be a big part of that. So just wanted to share that story. I know we're in overtime a little bit, so check in with you. How'd the turkey drive go? Did the elders get what they needed? Was it okay?
Yeah, I think it was went well. They were very excited. They was actually hyped for. We have a couple things coming up. We have a jam session / karaoke Sunday that they wanted to get into, and then we have a movie. We watching a tenant documentary, trying to decide between a few. So yeah, they was pretty much excited about that, and some folks got some of the students from the DSA Morehouse and Clark, so they came and help out. And then there's some elders from other groups that I meet with that they actually came to help out. So yeah, it was a dope event to where CMB leadership, CMP from different committees, and then as I said, college students, and then community members. They all kind of were there to support with the hand. Had a couple funny moments. One elder, he was trying to hustle us and get a turkey. Some people said they didn't want a turkey, and then when we got there, they was like, "I do want a turkey." And then one dude, he tried to pull out money. Said, "I'll buy all the turkeys. Let the turkey go." Like, but it was fun though. The man funny as hell.
That's beautiful.
He's getting on my nerves. Like, bro, you trying to buy all the turkeys? Like, yo, the turkeys already spoken for, bro.
That's what I was about to say.
Pull out money. Start talking about his power. He said, "What do you ask me?" I think he asked me, "He's like, are you a man of the cross?" I said, "Which cross?" He said, "The cross of Jesus Christ." "Which one? The black one or the white one?" So you try to hustle me.
That's funny, man. I'm glad you got to give folks what they needed. That was great to hear. On our side, slowing down some of the programming. We still have men's circles down here, which is great. We also might have one more event to close out the year, but we are celebrating 100 years of Malcolm X. We have a study guide that will be released that comes from People's College. It's already on the Black Men Build site right now, so I'll just highlight that. But we also have a wartime coming out. So Geechee, I don't know if you've gotten your copy yet.
I sure did.
You sure did. Okay, yes sir, yes sir. Okay.
I was shocked, man. I got all these books, but yeah.
I'm happy you got it. So Wartime Volume 7, that's Black Men Bill's publication. Again, check us out on our YouTube channel. But we've been working with this Malcolm X study guide. I think this is a typo. It should say the 25th, but it's 100 years that we're about to do, 100 years of Malcolm X. So if you go on Black Men Build's place, you'll see the Malcolm X study guide reprinted from the People's College and updated, of course, by us with some new photos and colors and things like that. But we're actually going to launch a centennial version, which is going to have even more articles. We're going to explore Betty Shabazz, Malcolm in Africa, Malcolm's patriarchy and how we transform through that, things of that nature. So definitely be on the lookout. But I'm glad you got your wartime, Geechee. And again, we'll drop all these resources in the show description. But that's all I had. I know we're going to talk about Crazy Horse. So we didn't get to it, but for those who are interested, Elder Leonard Peltier did a National Day of Mourning address yesterday, and then was also on Democracy Now!, just talking a bit about his background and things like that. So that's all I have for today. Appreciate y'all. Another Friday in the books.
Jared says, and Fred Hampton used to say, peace if you're willing to fight for it. And we'll catch y'all later. Watch Darker Than Blue Saturdays with Renee. Peace, everyone.
Darker Than Blue Saturdays with Renee.
Remix. 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 Remix.